My name is, if people don't know, Hector. So I'm out of Chicago. I've been in the fitness industry for about 10 years, basically done it all from train professional boxers, train professional basketball players, did bodybuilding. I'm 31 now. I did it back when I was 25 and 27, did nationals and did a local show, regular stuff. Yeah, I basically do everything under the sun from mobility to training, just everything. I've coached people before for NPC shows. So I've kind of everything in fitness. I put my little thumbprint on at least.
I hear you. That's pretty cool to have that kind of diverse, background like that.
In this game, what I tell people is like, in order to be in it for this long, you have to work hard. But that means you understanding like fitness is different from what I've experienced when I first got into here, because everything's more now turned online and actually in person, right? I tell people I'm not an influencer, nor am I an online coach. Yes, that's different for people who want to prep, but I'm a trainer, right? I know how to do hands-on things. It's just like, you can't get people 100% or make them feel you 100% unless they're dead in front of you. And I know this is this little internet world that we live in that is kind of changing now.
What got you into this world of fitness? Was it through the sports world?
Yeah, so I played college basketball, played junior college basketball, and then I ended up supposed to walk on at a D1 school at Southern Illinois. That didn't work out. So I ended up playing college ball. Then after that, I'm short. I'm only like 5'9". So, I was already skinny. I'm like, fuck it, let me go ahead and just pick the weights up, man. I wasn't that big. And then after that, for a couple, 3-4 years in the gym, decided to get on stage, loved it. But at that time I was like 24, 25, and I was broke as hell. Like, if people know, when you first get into this sport, it's very expensive, at least, especially when you're kind of by yourself. I had to start a GoFundMe for my first show. And luckily, I got people to give me thousands of dollars so I can complete it. But yeah, this game, when you first get into it, it's definitely costly.
And it's pretty crazy to think that, all this money's getting pumped into fitness and bodybuilding, and whether it's the supplements or the coaches or the shows themselves, all this stuff. How do you think, really, what do you think it is about bodybuilding that just makes people want to do this purely for the love of it?
Well, basically, because you can call it a body dysmorphia thing, you can call it a discipline thing, but I've seen everybody come from the bottom to the top, especially in my city, right? You see me, if you're going through my page, you see me around Brandon Henderson, you see me around Ciroc, you see me around Dre. I've seen probably 4 or 5 or helped those guys, not all of them, but I've seen their journey in Chicago. I've seen all the pros go pro. Like, I've seen everybody in Chicago go pro, right? And I've helped either be in a supportive way or coaching or posing. Somehow I've seen it. But it's just like, you just want to see where you can take your body to. Eventually you get tired of working out and just to work out. And then eventually you'll be like, man, I want to see what I can do when I get on that stage. Do I think people do it too early? For sure. Do I think they don't give their time or body enough time to develop to get on stage? Because I'm very competitive. Like, I tell people all the time, if you're not going on stage to win, there's no reason for you to get on stage, right? Everybody just wants to be like, oh, I just want to see the best version of myself. Well, you can do that at home, right? You don't have to get on stage. And everybody's like, oh, I want to just be the best version of me. And I understand that completely. But when you get into this game, it's just like, you want to win. You don't go up there to lose. Nobody goes for second place. Like, I get it, but when you take this seriously and you actually want to do this as a profession, not just fitness, but you want to do bodybuilding as a profession, like, you give it your all and you want to win. You just don't want to go up there and show off your best physique. You're out there to be the better you and beat the man next to you.
Yeah, and it feels like bodybuilding is getting a lot more available. It's becoming more available to kind of the average Joe, if you will. Back in the day, when I was a kid, kind of watching the old school guys, it seemed like it was much more exclusive. It was much more like you almost were like a superhuman. You almost had to have this like otherworldly kind of thing. Now it does seem like there's so many more competitors. It's becoming more of like a popular thing to do. How do you see that that's kind of affecting the sport?
So I tell people all the time, like, even when I found Dan and things like that, it's more about telling people we do this shit in real life. This is not like a social media gimmick. And it's even like, if you talk about basketball, right? Famous Los and Max and all them, they get paid more than WNBA players for just like mimicking the game, right? for some reason and I think it's due to social media, like everybody's allowed to be popular now, right? Even when I went to the summer shredding show, we know who was going to win. What did I tell you in our DMs? What was the first thing that I told you?
You said you had the winner, man. That was what you said.
Did I lie?
No, man, you were right.
And I told you, and when you reached out to me to do it, and I'm like, look, this is what it is. But I tell people, like, and we'll talk about that show later, but I talk about this is real life. Like, we know summer shredding isn't a real show, right? I've personally being back there, like I've seen people with bags of Chick-fil-A, people just thinking they was pumping up, and I get it. Half them people didn't have coaches. The other half were coached by Alex, and it was just like, it's not a real show. I took Dan to a real show. We did NPC Illinois, and it was different. Again, he was still the best person in the room, which I told him even before we started, hey, you gonna make noise. You damn near gonna win. You're gonna go pro this year. When he goes to USA's, he is definitely gonna go pro. But I tell people all the time, it's just like, we do this in real life. Like, that's always my quote. Like, we don't do the marketing shit. Like, you went to Alpha Land, right?
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness. They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Gun Coffee.
Do you see any better physique than Dan's?
I really can't say I did.
Exactly. So this is what I tell people. It's like, this day in social media, all those kids might be 24 and 25. The difference is that man sat down and he focused on social media a little bit, posted his stuff, but it wasn't obviously big. When I first met him 2 years ago in 2020, he had 400 and maybe 53 followers. And I said, you have one of the most underrated physiques ever. And I guarantee you're going to be one of the best, right? And it's just like, he sat down and worked every day consistently. It wasn't about him making a social media thing. And that's the difference with like kids that are younger. They think about more of the marketing of it than actually putting more time into their physique. Because again, we went down to Alpha, you see all these influencers with hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm like, so Dan, like, you look better than all that. Like, I know they have more followers than you, but that doesn't make them better than you, And it's just right. Like, and that's why you say fitness is too available now, right? It's just like, we got these kids, and of course they're young, and I know who's natural, I know who's not, and I know who's doing it. And I tell people, unless you're one, is this your profession, or two, you're getting on stage, there's no reason to touch drugs in general. But I get the culture of it now. It's more accessible now. People see different things and they want to be pro by 21. And you ain't even been lifting for 3 or 4 years and you think you're going to do it. I'm like, it's just, you got to give your body time to develop. And it's just like, people are getting on stage too early. And I've seen half the guys back there, even the influencers. I'm like, as me, if I was your coach, I'd tell your ass, don't go up there. Like, you need a couple more years to grow. But people automatically feel like, oh, I just have enough muscle, I'm going to shred and it's just going to look amazing. And I'm telling them, like, no, it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
And do you think that that there's more kind of, as far as like being a diamond in the rough, do you think that's more of like the potential to have that physique, or do you think it's the mindset that's more of the diamond in the rough that you find?
So when we talk about, like, again, I've seen all the diamonds in the rough where I can tell, like, the first time, I'm gonna tell the story. The first time I met Draylon Hunt, who's a professional, I seen him on the amateur Arnold, right? And he lost, but I was looking at his posing. He was too eager, things like that. So I hit him up on IG. I'm like, hey man, let me help you because your physique is amazing. But I know just with posing, you can get that pro card. And I had talked to him, and again, next year, boom, he ended up taking it. So repeat your question again.
Do you think it's more of the physique that is the diamond in the rough that you find, or the mindset?
So it's, let me say that. So it's both, right? So me finding Dan, he already had that, right? He's humble. He don't talk too much. He doesn't know too much, but he's been in a bubble for forever. All that man knows is go to school, go to work, lift, that's it, right? And that's the thing where he's actually built that, lifted the heavyweights, did all this shit in college, done it for so long. But it's the mindset of he never even intended on doing an NPC show until after he was going to do summer shredding. But me bringing him into the gym that I work at now, which is Mode, and me helping him and guiding him, like, hey, you can do this. You don't have to wait. Like I told him, like, you can go on stage right now, but adding a little cardio, being able to shift your diet up, I guarantee you're going to win. And we took overall in men's physique and we took overall in classic. And, you know, he still doesn't believe it because he's been in this bubble where it's like, he doesn't know it's big. Like I brought him around Brandon Hendrickson, who was the Mr. Olympia for the last 3 to 4 years. I'm like, I can put you in the room with these people. And this is not just talk. Everybody's going to tell you, stick with Heck, everything's going to be fine. I'm the person that's going to put you always in position to win if I have that potential. Because the last time I coached somebody was in 2018. And my guy, Jonathan, who actually works at my other studio, who I helped put him in there, we were supposed to win the overall. Even the dude who he's a pro now, his name is Chris. We had just talked to him when I took Dan to the Apex gym out here, and I had all the pros. I had Ciroc talk to him. I had Chris. I had Dre talk to him. I had Don of Black Ink, who I helped, and he went pro too. So I had them all in this room, and he's never been in a room with bigger people, right? So it's just like he doesn't know, but all of them are telling him, you're going to go pro. Everything is, you already got it. You already got it. And everybody's telling him, man, stick with Heck, you're good. Everything's fine. You know, you're going to be good. And I already knew Dan doesn't talk, and I do mostly the talking for him just because I know he's new to this, right? And I tell him I've been around this game for so fucking long, and I've seen the people who go up, and I've seen the people who've lost it all. It's crazy. But I've seen everything.
And did you see a switch in him at all? I mean, he, like you said, he's kind of like more humble, more quiet, things like that. But did you see a switch in him at all whenever he did kind of get around those people? Like afterwards, as far as like the anything with like how he trained or anything like that, not necessarily his personality.
So no, I mean, I know Dan likes to follow Joe Bennett, who's the hypertrophy coach, right? So he did all his powerlifting mostly in college, things like that. And then when he got out, he's been following Joe for 2 years. And I get why he follows Joe. I understand the mindset. And it's just like Dan is more like less volume, heavier weights. And that's what works for him. He's always been like that, but it's more of lighting more of an intensity on his ass. Like, again, I took him to Brandon. I told him, this motherfucker don't want to pose as much. He didn't want to do cardio. I want to say he didn't want to do cardio, but you know, there's some days where it's like, yeah, you can get a rest day from lifting, but you don't really get a rest day from cardio. And I had to get on his ass. Like, I'm that person. Like, I knew the potential Dan had, and even though he has some enormous talent, you can see these little things of, oh, I'm tired, I'm lazy. I said, hey, once you decide you do this shit, we don't lose, and we don't leave anything to chance. So I'm like, you can't take a whole full ass day off. It don't work. Like, yes, if you don't have to lift and you don't have clients, cool, just do cardio. But when he tells me, oh, you know, I just felt lazy today, you don't get that pass. Especially when I'm in your corner and I'm on here supporting you and investing in you and say, hey, fam, like, if you say you want to do this, you got to. Dan has the disciplined mindset, but does he have a killer mindset? I don't think so, but that's just because he doesn't know enough to like get there, right? All he's been doing is lifting weights. So it's like him and the weights, him and the weights, him and the weights. But now it's like you go against different people and it's like, man, you got to bring that dog out too, where it's just like, when you battling on people on stage, you moving your elbows. I'm telling you, move them the fuck out the way. You know, this is your show. This is where you belong. They don't even fucking belong on the same stage with you. And I make sure he gets that, but somebody has to fuel that in him. You just don't get that shit out of nowhere. Somebody has to really tell you, hey, you got it. Let's do it. And I'm in your corner every fucking step of the way. Every step of the way.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear you talk like that. You know, it's that kind of you know, that Mamba mentality or whatever you want to call it, you know, the killer mindset.
Exactly. And that's the thing where it's like, I'm a Virgo too, like Kobe. So I get it, but I'm very big. So Dan only did the first show because I damn near had to blackmail him. You know, a lot of people put these motivational captions up there and all these sayings. I'm like, prove it. Like, don't fucking tell me like you this person, you that type of person. I'm gonna make you prove who you are. You know, me being a trainer and being in this game for so long, I don't have the most friendliest approach, right? I'm on your ass. I make sure you do it. But that's what people need, because in this world, we got a lot of soft ass people, right? And it's the thing is like, that's not truly going to get you the results. But as long as you know my intentions are pure and they're always to help you, understand that. But am I a hard ass every fucking day? Just because it's like the minute you say, Dan said he want to be on the Olympia stage. Cool. Once you set that bar that high, it's like, I don't give a fuck if we're doing summer shredding, which is a joke of a show. We still go out there. We sure make sure everything is good. We still handle everything professionally, even the first show. And me being able to make sure he doesn't make these simple mistakes on his first show. You know, the way he was doing his diet, he would not take in carbs, like a couple of meals and then save them all for the last meal, just because Joe was saying some other stuff like he saved his carbs. I'm like, Dan, it doesn't work like that. Eat your carbs, each meal, break down each. You can't have 200, 300 grams of rice in one meal just because our body doesn't break it down like that. So I'm sitting here just making sure he doesn't have to make the small mistakes. Even when we were at the first show, people are like, what the fuck is he doing here? It's his first show, but you couldn't tell. right? One, because of the physique, and two, of the poise. But that's because I was on his ass every day, making sure he's posing, making sure we did everything right. I made sure his tan was right. I made sure he had everything. Like even in between shows, you know, we chilled at my mama's house because it was close. They even had my girl cook him chicken and rice and my other competitor chicken and rice in between. Like I tell people, like, I got a shirt that says we put in the work and let God take care of the rest. But I control all variables if I'm able to control it, because I know what I can do and how I can make people move. And me, my job is like, I don't know if what's the name, Tim Grover, right? His job is like make people, elevate people. And that's what I feel like. That's why I call myself the trainer, how he does. Cause it's like, I see that same shit, but everybody isn't there mentally to be able to get pushed. And that's the thing where some people shy away from that. You can give them that accountability and they don't really like that shit. You know, you can tell who's really with it and who's just shies away from it and just talks. And like, no, I tell people we do this shit in real life.
Kind of going to summer shredding, you know, what for you, what is kind of the purpose of it? Is it kind of an experience? Is it a, you know, look at what's around you kind of experience? Like what's the point for you of taking, you know, a guy like that down to summer shredding?
So when I first met Dan, or even when I brought him over here, I told Dan, you give me a year, I'm going to change your life, right? And the thing was, when I invest in you and I take you under my wing and I make sure, like, again, Dan was working somewhere else in Athletic Code, where I first met him at a different gym I was training at. And, you know, we was chopping it up. I'd bring him in every week. We do check-ins. I help him with his posing, things like this. And he was like, man, I got a research job. I'm probably going to end up taking this overnight. I'm like, Dan, if you want to work here at Mode, once you get a referral from me, you're good in Chicago. If I put you on, especially the gym I was at, the owner of Mode, he needed trainers anyway. I said, Dan, if you want to work here, I got you. You know, and the next week I brought him in, and the first week we filled his books up, right? And so I'm around him. I'm, you know, me and him talking a lot. I know he want to get out of his parents' house. I know his situation financially at home, and I'm like, I'm on his ass. Hey, make sure you budget. Make sure you understand everything. Again, I've made Dan the most money he's ever made working at a job already, and I made sure his prep was easy, because at a gym you can still do your cardio. At your gym you still can do your lift. Again, Mode is a family, right? We've helped Dan hit a reel that says probably like 2.2 million views on Instagram, right? And that wasn't done by himself. He brought the idea, but at Mode, we are a very close-knit family. And again, it's because if I support you, everybody around me is going to support you, because that's off my reference and that's off my network. So the main goal, and I tell them, as you can hear in his videos, the same thing I tell them. And that's why it's funny when I listen to him talk. It's like my shit. I told him we're going down there for two reasons, right? To shake hands and kick ass. That's it. And that's what I told his ass. I said, Dan, you're out there just to get you marketed. You have a better physique than like I told you, than anybody that we met. I've told you I had the overall. I knew it. It didn't even have to do it. And that's the crazy thing, where it's like I was posting summer shredding every day, right? I was the person that's putting them out there. I was the person, if I brought in one of these Instagram models that I train outside the city with a couple million followers, I'll make sure we take a picture with them. You know, 50 Cent came to the gym, take a picture of him. So it was just getting him exposure. Dan already had the work ethic, right? I would never take that from him. He always had the physique. I would never take that from him. It was just like the world didn't know who he was, right? And so it was my job to make sure financially he did what he needed to do, make sure he made no mistakes, making sure he was on his shit, and just making sure he was accountable. We made sure we posed like basically having that life coach, that bodybuilding coach, and just make sure everything is right, because you're about to elevate to a next level. Because it's like he has one of those oven baked bodies, not this microwave ass shit where these kids do 1 or 2 years and want to get on stage. No, you've prepped your shit for this moment right here, and now it's time to expose you to the whole world. And after that first show, I already know he's gonna do big things for sure.
Going to summer shredding, you know, what did you see from him? Like, obviously going from, he went to, you know, a real, you know, quote unquote real show, and then he goes to, you know, to do summer shredding. Like, did you see any change? Did you see any difference? Did you see any mentality things that were, you know, just shifted at all with him, or really with, you know, not necessarily like how you would do it, but like, do you do anything different when it's that kind of show versus a quote unquote real show?
No, we still take no chances. I make sure he does what he needs to do. You know, there's a couple things on a diet where Alex wanted him to take some stuff, and I told him like, I don't think that's the best thing for you. You know, and again, we ended up deciding against what Alex wanted for a couple of things, and again, we ended up still winning. And again, I told him like, this is a joke of a show, right? We already know you were winning. There wasn't nothing. But again, I tell people like, we don't dumb ourselves down to the competition. Like, and again, Dan valued this show more than the first one, because one, he didn't know what to expect for the first show, but this one is like, what he's been dreaming for as a kid, right? Like he talked about, like he's been watching Alpha Lead and Christian Guzman, which I have too. Again, he's built a great brand. But if when you do this shit in real life, that shit is a joke of a show only because it's a lifestyle bodybuilding show. It's not a real NPC or a national show or a pro show. You know, it's for people who want to be like, you know what, this is safe enough for me, right? And even though Dan has that mindset of, not saying of a kid mindset, but he's still a young mindset where it's like, oh my God, I'm getting to meet all these people. And those are his heroes, right? Even though I can take him around Brandon, I can take him on Ciroc, those are the people that really do that shit in real life. But Dan values the people that mostly have all those followers, you know, have all those sponsorships. That's what he values. And it's hard because I'm like, fam, you're gonna be there in a year. Like, I don't give a fuck. They've had to build their social media because their bodies weren't there. You put your shit up there, people are like, what the fuck is this? Like, damn, where the fuck you been? And I'm just saying, it's just like, when you do this shit in real life, you don't have to try hard to be something that you're not, right? You don't have to put on this facade for Instagram. You don't have to have these angles. Dan looks good at every fucking angle. It doesn't matter. You know, you can put him on clothes, no clothes. He's always going to look good. But for these people up here, you know, obviously they got to take a different route that's more enhanced to get the physique they have. And again, they trying to do it by 23, 24. You know, this day and age for fitness is like, if you're past 30, you're past your prime. I'm like, no, like I make pretty well for myself and my wait list is very long, but I tell people like I've only been around for this long because I'm a hard worker and I'm good to people. And people got to understand, in this business, it's all about relationships. All that social media shit don't mean nothing. It's just people want to follow you because you might have a personality or you might have a physique. And I'm like, damn, you've been here. He's only been at Mo maybe 3 or 4 months. He's been in bodybuilding again since I brought him over there and make sure he was always taken care of. Like whatever the man needed, I made sure. And he never had to ask. It was like, it's a non-spoken bond. Like, I got you. Even though you be like, man, you ain't got to. Look, man, look, I said, all you have to do is pay me back is winning. That's all you had to do. Like, just make sure don't fuck all this over. I'm making this shit real easy for you. A lot of people don't get this first route and this first step. And it's just like, man, you know, I could have let him make the mistakes and, you know, let him fuck it off and maybe only go 70% because he didn't really know what this all required. But I'm like, no, we're going to make sure you win this. We're going to make sure you go in and shit, now he loves it.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Yeah, and I think the beauty, too, of bodybuilding is that you do get to kind of, you know, if you have a good coach, you do get to kind of, I don't want to say turn your brain off, but in a lot of ways, you kind of just get to follow the plan. You know, you get to rely on somebody's really, you know, their years of expertise, of experience and their expertise that they've gained and things like that.
Right.
It kind of is like, you know, I don't want to say, like I said, easy, but it's simple, you know, simple, but not easy, you know, just do these things, do them to the best of your ability. And, you know, we'll go where we'll go. It's kind of it's kind of a crazy, you know, you can't really even compare it to most sports out there because, you know, it truly is a you versus you, you know, what are you willing to do that you think that you can't do?
Right. Yeah, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. I made it easy for him. And then again, I was making him the most money he had. So financially, like at 24, 25, I didn't have anybody investing in me, even though like I had to get out the mud myself. You know, you had to make sure you working hard to stay above flow. Because again, the prep needs you spending $700-800 a month on food and things like that. And again, you know, I just made sure everything was simple for him. And again, for you making the most money that you've ever made to being able just to make sure everything was smooth. Like all you had to do was lift, eat, work out, show up and train clients. And you liked it. Like I gave you a job you liked. It wasn't like you had to be in some research lab and like, fuck this and work overnight. Like I made sure you enjoyed something that you did. You could still do your online stuff. You could still do everything. So I put them in an environment to win. And again, with support, it was like my girl, like we drove down to Summer Shredding and we didn't have to, right? So it was just like, it was Dan and Ariel, which is one of his best friends, was gonna drive down there, but me, my girl, Brandon and Liv, who also work at the gym, I'm like, if I'm gonna go, all of us are gonna go. So we ended up buying a Suburban. We all ended up driving together. You know, Dan, which I had an issue with, obviously, he ended up staying an extra day, right? But the only reason we drove was because it was financial friendly to them. Like me and my people could have flew there and flew back. But for us to drive down there together, you know, me, I'm very big on unit and family. Like, hey, we go together, we come back together. So it's just some other stuff that me and him didn't really see eye to eye on that trip. But I get it because, you know, he wanted to meet Christian. He wanted to be around all the influencers. And again, it's like, I get it, you know, again, he's like a kid in a candy store when he sees them. Oh my God, this is this. I'm like, they don't even look like you. Like, that's what I'm saying. But again, I get it because he just doesn't see it like that. But he sees, oh, they're making this type of money and they're doing this. I'm like, fam, you're going to be there. Like, you're 24, you know, you just got introduced to the game. It's not going to take you long to be on the same level that they are and then have a tremendous, better physique than them.
Yeah.
So basically me and Dan are no longer working together, right? So it's just like, basically we've kind of cut ties and things like that. But it's crazy because it's just like, so this is the message that I tell people. It's just like, when you have somebody good in your corner, and it was actually, I found out for 3 reasons, right? Reason number 1, right? So I signed Dan to a manager contract probably 2 or 3 weeks before we went to summer shredding, right? And because I already knew he was going to go. Like, and this is the reason why he needed. I sat there in the back, me and him had a long conversation, and I can read you the text message if you want. We can go through this whole thing, depends on how much time you have. But I signed him to a contract that says, I don't touch any of your money until I can make you $10,000 passively a month from sponsorships, right? So, because I'm like, I can't take nothing from nothing. You don't have any money, right? You're not getting anything. And so, you know, crazy thing is some stuff had happened, and he ended up having his friend read it. And his friend said it was a bad contract. I said, tell me how, because I work for you. How long do you think it's going to take me to be able to make you $10,000 a month? And how is that a bad thing where I take any money after 10,000? Again, you still living at your parents' house because, again, you want to get out. But I'm the one looking for apartments for you. I'm the one that's, my mom is a realtor, making sure we're trying to get you where you need to be. I'm the one that, damn near, if I have to, we make you some fake pay stubs if we got to try to get you in position to win. It's bigger than bodybuilding. When you invest in somebody, it's just like, man, you know, all the shit that we've helped with, you're going to end up picking Alex as a coach. And again, let me state this. I've never had an issue with Alex ever. You know, it's some shit that was said to me, and then it was a reverse, because let me just read this to you, right? So we're going down to summer shredding. And this is when I tell you about, like, when I told you Dan I didn't want him to take some nutritional stuff from him, just things like that, right? And as we said, when you said it's easier to listen to one coach, yes, but when you have somebody who's there every day and then somebody who's riding the plan, again, Alex's plans are good. I'm just saying, if I see Dan and I understand his physique at this level right now, him being all natural, I know certain things work and I know certain things do. So we were coming down there. And did you watch the Reform video by Alex at all?
I don't think I saw it.
Okay, so he got one where it was just like the team reform and all that shit, and just when all his people, right? So he had texted me this. He said, and just to clarify, we were just talking about when I was coming down there. He was like, just to clarify, are you training Dan? I want to make sure to give you credit this weekend with the content that we're shooting. I was nowhere in that fucking video, and that's fine, right? But you can't text me one thing and then kind of do some shit behind my back. I said, yeah, basically I'm doing the training and posing and letting you take care of the diet. But if there's 1 or 2 things that he should change with, or it doesn't seem to be working, just because I see him on an everyday basis, I'll express it to him and we tweak it. So you put the plan together and make sure you execute it. And you know, Sadiq, when I look at shit like this, it's like, it's okay if somebody is somewhere in Houston and Tampa and somebody's there like helping you every day. Not saying the plan was wrong. I looked at it and be like, okay, that works, cool. You know, we get a little closer, and he wanted him to have a refeed like 10 days out. And I'm like, I don't think that's good for him, you know? And I had him ask Alex why. And to me, what Dan said was Alex didn't like the pushback that I was giving him, because it was again questioning what he was doing. I'm like, and he has 100 clients online? Cool, that's fine. But all those don't matter to me. Dan is the only person I give a fuck about, because again, it's your athlete, it's my athlete too. And again, I've never had no problem sharing Dan or being able to be like, he gets coached by Alex and me. Because again, did you even know he was being coached by Alex until he said something?
I didn't know.
And that's fine, right? And I don't care about that, right? Again, it's not about the credit, but what I've heard was being able to, he said I was taking too much credit. This is what Dan told me, that Alex said, that I was taking too much credit for Dan because I was tagging Summer Shredding. I was tagging everybody, but that's how people seen him, right? That's how you found him. That's how you reached out to follow him. And it's the crazy thing about it, it's like you got 101 people that you coaching, but when it comes to what I do with Dan, now you feel like I'm taking too much credit because he's your golden goose. I'm like, Alex, I have no problem like working that together, but don't text me this. So once with that, he was like, change with the nutrition plan, question mark. After I said that, we'll tweak it. He's like, yeah, nothing major. Like, I know you wanted him to have a burger and fries the other day. We were looking at him and understanding his body. I don't think it was a good time for him to have a refeed this close to the show. And I know you wanted to see how his body was going to react off of a higher fat meal, but I feel like it was just too close. I mean, we was 10 days out. Dan doesn't tend to get that lean, him being all natural. And I think he gets as lean as he can. And then I think he does better with chicken and rice rather than salmon. Because I told him about putting fish into the diet. Because on his first prep, we didn't do fish. The second prep, I said, ask Alex to put some fish in there. Let's see how it does. But he ended up cutting the fish. I don't think Dan was reacting too well to it. And I think it was just a money thing, and it was going too fast. So he ended up going back to chicken and rice. And I was like, he didn't take the creatine last prep, and he did this time around, but he was holding a lot of water, and he was behind more than the first prep. So I told him to cut it. Because again, I don't know if I doubt he expresses the things he does and doesn't take to Alex on the first prep, but it was like the first time he couldn't afford the creatine, so he didn't take it. He took it the second time, and I felt like we were further back than what we were the first show. So I just had him cut it, you know? And again, he still looked phenomenal, and we still won. So again, both decisions was like, I'll speak it to Dan and damn near let him make his own decision, you know? And again, at this time, we weren't telling Alex anything. So again, it's like what he feels like what was working was for him. Cool. But I'm like, if you're making 98% of the plan, but I'm just saying, here's 2%, switch it. Like, again, we was backstage. Alex gave everybody the same protocol, which was eat a Rice Krispies and just hold on it, right? I'm just like, it's different to me, it's different if you're doing a show during the daytime. Dan already had a lot of carbs, and he really doesn't get as lean. Like, we seen another competitor, Sean. Sean was lean as shit, but obviously he doesn't have as much muscle as Dan. So it was like, it's a give and take for us. But I know we were still going to win. And then he had texted me this. He said, I am open to hearing all of your suggestions when it comes to Dan. I'm not blind to the fact that you see him daily and that you're a smart guy. I just ask that you communicate with me if you think something else would be more efficient. We just have to be on the same page. And yes, creatine holds water subcutaneously, but even intramuscularly. So once we pulled water, it would have made for a fuller look once the subcutaneous water was pulled. This is a method that a lot of people use, including myself. We can talk more about this in person, but at the end of the day, what's most important is that being alignment. If we're going to be a team with Dan, then let's make sure and let's make him undeniable. So don't tell me this over text and then keep him the day after, then somehow Alex has made you make a decision where it's you or me. Because I would have never did that. And that's the thing that I felt like backstab, like after everything I've done for you. So it was the contract, it's Alex not liking me, which again, they tried to put it on me like I didn't like Alex, and they said that we had a weird vibe when we were in the room, which was never true. If you ever see Dan's videos, I'm the one helping him post. And when Alex came around, I took a back seat because I know that's who Dan wanted to hear from. But me and Alex literally say the same shit, the same thing. And again, it's just like, I understand that Dan values his opinion more because he feels like he has done everything that he wants to do. But I'm like, that's cool. And I'm like, keep him. But for you to have him cut him off because he doesn't like me, that's not valid enough, right? After everything I've helped you with to get to this point, to make sure you were good for your first show, to make sure you had this, to make sure you work in the gym that I put you in, like, it's just a lot. And then, so yeah, so it was those. And another reason was, so Dan has decided to stay an extra day, and I was pissed about that because it was like we all came down together. Shit, we could have flew back, or we could have flown there and flown back. But him making them last minute decisions because he feels like he was never going to meet Christian Guzman, which again, I told you, I said, Dan, they're going to sign you to a contract regardless. And I guarantee you, they will fly you back on their dime. That's how much you are, especially if you have Alex as your coach. Do you think they're not? So him and Ariel decided to stay, right? And it pissed me off. So when we were going to the show, I didn't talk. Regardless of how I'm feeling, you know me, again, Mamba mentality, always Tim Grover style is like, I was pissed, you know. I didn't talk to them for a couple of hours, not even a couple of hours. You can just feel my aura in the room, right? And we ended up going down to the show. I always do my job. Regardless of how I feel, I was still making sure he was the only one back there with bands. I was the only one oiling him up. I was making sure his tan was still good that day. It was like, again, you can tell it's an amateur show because everybody's just sitting, chilling, don't know what to do. They're waiting for the fake pump-up room that they built for them that brings you on stage maybe 10 minutes before your show, which is not even enough time when it's like, we're the only one back there with bands, only one making sure we're good, still posing. It's just like, that's how I knew this is not a real show, right? And people just eating rice cakes just because that's what YouTube told them to do, to pump up and things like that. Like, nobody really knows what's happening. And the other half are getting coached by Alex. So Alex has 6 people in one class. Like, I know Dan is your golden goose, but you only put in that video that 10 seconds of you pumping him up. Like it doesn't take anything. Like I get it that you want credit. I have no problem with that. But don't text me that you want to be in alignment as long as Dan is good, then go behind my back and be like, I feel like Hector's too much in control and too much credit, because Dan wasn't going to do a show until after an NPC show until after Summer Shredded. I convinced him to do it. So people, when they feel a certain type of way about you, they switch the word trust for controlling. Because I asked Dan, even when we got back home, because he sent me this text message that he didn't want to work with me no more, right? And I'm like, so you're telling me like you didn't want to do the NPC show, but I made you, but wasn't it a great decision? Well, yeah. I said, did I fuck up anything with your bodybuilding? No. Did I fuck up anything with your marketing or social media? No. Have I only done everything to be good for you? Yeah. So it was like him cutting me off is damn near like a slap in the face, because the reasons aren't valid. If I would have fucked something up with his prep, if I would have fucked something up with his tan, if I would have made a mockery of something, then cool. But Dan was literally mad at me because I didn't tell him I was proud of him, because he says it was a big win for him. I said, Dan, this was a joke of a show. And if you were there, and if you ever heard anybody screaming, I got the videos, I'm the loudest one in the room. I'm the one cheering 219. I'm the motherfucker that's there. And even though me and Alex dapped up right when he won. And so it's like these reasons where mentally, Dan just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand it, right? And he moves a lot off emotion because this is all new to him. He's never really had a big social bubble. He's never really had this support. But I'm telling you, like everybody that fucks with you, in Chicago at least, is my network and me introducing to you. We did a photo shoot with him just because one of the girls at the gym was supposed to do a photo shoot for my girl. I'm like, you know what, throw Dan in there too. Everybody, big clientele that come in, make sure you get a photo with Dan. Taking him to an Apex gym where more influencers there, more pros there. I make sure I take him there. Me taking him, making sure we go see Brandon. Like I'm putting him on these positions to win. And it's not like I'm keeping him to myself. I want him to experience this shit because he's not going to get anywhere else. And this social media shit, these are the people that do it in real life again. This ain't the motherfuckers who got just 100,000 followers just from being in the gym and making good content. Again, this is the people that do it in real life. And he just doesn't value that as much as he wants to be a part of Alpha Elite so bad. Because I literally asked him this, right? And this is why I feel like he needed a manager. I said, if Alpha Elite offers you $4,000 a month and Gymshark offers you $20,000 a month, who are you going to take? This man told me Alpha Elite. And that's the thing where it's like he wants to be loyal to a brand just because he's seen it growing up. And I never had a problem with him taking that sponsorship, but I'm like, you got to understand you're bigger than Alpha Elite. Not saying they didn't, but if they came with the right money once in a year, then cool, still use it for right now. But I'm like, Dan, don't put all your eggs in one basket just because you've seen as a kid. And me and him discussed about it. I asked him this question. I said, Dan, isn't the goal of this to make sure that you make money and make a living? Yeah. Well, then don't sell yourself short for a brand that doesn't even fucking, I don't want to say care about you, but you just wear their clothes, right? Unless you're planning on down there moving to Houston, I get it. But you can't shoot yourself in the foot when you still work in the gym that I put you at, right? And me moving very logically, me talking about the situation, I'm never mad. Dan's still going to do great things. He's still going to be big. But it's the thing where you can't fuck up good ass relationships where people just want to do anything for you and help you because they see the potential and they see that you're a humble person. But once they shine flashy shit in your eyes and it's like, oh my God, that's what I wanted. But he doesn't understand that he's way bigger than that. Like way bigger than that. And with my connection off, 1,000 times his followers since he's been at mode, and it didn't take nothing but 3 months. I'm like, yeah, that's before you even went to Alpha Land. The only reason you had so much hype is because I made you do the first show. The only reason why people were, when we walked in the gym, people like, hey man, what you doing, Classic? People like, man, I've seen your videos. I've seen them. I'm saying, yeah, because I'm the one tagging Summer Shredder. I'm the one, the motherfucker saying who is coming in second place because we already got it won. Like I'm the one putting them out there. And it's not for my selfish needs. It's because I know where Dan can go and people just need to see Dan. Like you said, he already got the physique. The mentality, it's there, but now it has to be there outside of the gym. Socially, he has to be a lot more aware and understand because he's just going off what people are telling him. Even me and Alex, like we had got into it because, or they said that Alex didn't like that I made him do USAs and that Alex wanted him to do Tennessee or Pittsburgh. And I'm like, Dan, you're bigger than that. And I'm like, this is your first time you go to Vegas, right? You're going to get more exposure. And again, you're going to take an overall, regardless of what show you do, but I'm not going to take you to the small shows because it doesn't make any sense, right? If your name is to get out there, I said, Dan, have I ever put you in a position to lose? No. Well, then let's go win. Like, I'm never going to put him in a position where that makes me look bad too. But it's like when it comes to people wanting the credit for him and him thinking I do him dirty and all this other shit, I'm like, you tripping, fam. Like, I'm not that person at all. And for me, only want the best of you, and you need to cut me off. I'm like, I have to see you every day. Me and him don't talk because there's nothing to say. It was just like you made your reasons non-logically at all. And for you to let another grown man tell you like, hey, it's either me or him. And I know he picked him because he's a part of Alpha League. He's a part of Ghost. And you know, he wants to be a part of that internet family, right? He doesn't want to understand like these are the motherfuckers that help you damn near try to put money in your pocket, making sure you're good. Hey, anything you need, like that's what really family is. And we didn't ask shit from you, but win. And that's what you've been doing. So it's just like for you to have this fake facade of what you think you want to be a part of, because that's what you've seen on the internet, rather than valuing what you actually have in front of you. That's the scary thing with social media. Cause like people only really have friends if they ended up typing good job or things like that. Like they don't know how to move socially in those circles, know how to meet, know how to interact. And that's the scary thing where it's like, you think the grass is greener over there because you see them followers. I'm like, fam, you're going to be fine. And unless you move in there, you just shot yourself in the foot in Chicago. Because if you fuck me over, my whole network is me. And that's why they supported you. It wasn't because of you. It was because, hey, go follow Dan. Make sure y'all go look at Dan. And it was just like me tagging these people so they can see him. Like, and even when I took him to go see Brandon, I guess Alex had texted Brandon and it was like, oh, that, you know, that's my competitor. And Brandon was like, oh, I thought it was Hector. It doesn't fucking matter. My job was to get him in front of in front of an Olympian, right? The man who's won 3 out of the last 4 shows. I'm not selfish. And then if that was the case, I would have never took him around these people. I let him go get this perspectives of different motherfuckers going to pro and actually getting into this. Not the motherfuckers who are going to make it online. Only thing that people need is exposure. And Dan has that. And it's just like, he felt like Alex can replicate what he does. I'm like, it doesn't take much for you to build an online business to make at least 10 G's a month and for you to grow your shit socially. You gaining fucking 100 followers a day. You'll have probably 40,000, maybe 20,000 by the end of the year. Like, it doesn't take much. But to believe you need to fuck with only one person rather than the people who's actually made sure you got into that point, that's the shit I just didn't like about that.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because, you know, when you're fresh into something, it is so easy to, I think, get, you know, excited to get things, like you said, kind of things getting opportunities that you've only seen online, opportunities that you've dreamed of, opportunities like that. And, you know, it's tough though. It's tough because you want to live out those dreams. You want to live, you know, I don't know. It's, you see it in all sports, you know, you see it in the shoe deals or the whatever deals. You see it in the team deals. You see it, you know, break up the franchise for this, you know, one thing. It's kind of sad to see it though.
And exactly. And I'm like, damn, you just been here for 3 months. Like, it's different if you moved, fam. And the crazy thing is, he thought things were going to be the same. Like, sending me a text message. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they kept trying to refer to me and Alex never get along in the same room. We dapped each other up. I've never been in a room more than 5 minutes with Alex. And it was all good, at least for me. And again, if Alex stepped in there, I just stepped back. People like the vibe was weird. No, I know how to play my position when it's time needed. If that's the man who's going to be there for that time, great. But he's not the one understanding, making sure you're doing your cardio, making sure you're doing the shit, making sure you're on top of your shit. Like, that's why I took you to Brandon. That's why I took you to different things. And it's just like, he doesn't know because, like you said, you know, and that's why I said, he said it was a big show. Alpha League isn't a big show. It's a big influencer show. For bodybuilding, it's a joke. Like, and for people who want to get the influence and go out there, that's what it was all for. I mean, like, when we walked into that camera on Thursday, not one person didn't have a professional camera, right? Everybody's filming stuff, every point for content. And I get it, but I'm like, these people do it online. We do it in real life. And I still get it that you have to take that content. But that's why I'm like, shake these hands. And to me, you know, how I see it, Dan and Ariel were like, again, kids in the candy store, like fanboy over all these people who got followers. I'm like, Dan, did you look at your fucking physique? Go take your shirt off and take a picture next to him and tell me who really is more valuable, right? And the crazy thing is, like, at the gym, you know, 50 Cent comes into our gym. Dan wasn't scared at all to meet him. And I'm like, Dan, you ain't had not one fear talking to 50, but you see these little motherfuckers that you believe is big in this facade. I'm like, fam, like, I get it, but they're doing the same thing you're doing. There's no different. And you're doing it a million times better. But because social media, they got a couple 100,000 followers, it makes you feel like you're inferior. I'm like, fam, man, you don't even know where you can go. I'm like, again, I didn't mind you signing with Alpha Leagues. The problem was, like, just make sure you don't sell yourself short from what you deserve and what you're about to get. Because I told him, like, I can put him in Men's Health magazine. I can put him with Nike, Jordan, all this other shit. Like, I got so many connections to Chicago. It's crazy. And that's why I had to take them photo shoot pictures just to show people, hey, this motherfucker look good and close too. And it was just extra money to get him. But him being some gung ho on Alpha League, and like again, that's what he wanted as a kid. I'm like, fam, there's still a lot more to that shit. There's still a lot more to it. And for somebody telling you you have to cut him off because you don't want no pushback and because you don't like me, that's just not justifiable. Now, the only thing I was expecting from Dan is putting his foot down and be like, hey, you know what, Alex, you know, I expect you as a coach, you're a good plan, everything, but Heck's been doing this for me, you know, he helps me, blah, blah, blah. I need y'all to work together. That would have been more admirable to me. You feel me? And it's just like, for him not doing that shit, I just know he wants to be a part of that Alpha League so bad, and he doesn't really care or understand what he's giving up trying to attain that right there.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, because he just doesn't know. And that's why I can't be mad, because he's never been in this situation. I am disappointed, but I'm not mad. And I still know he's going to go pro and do great things. But for that shit to happen so quick and still having to be in the gym where I put you at to make sure, because I talked to him, I said, Dan, I'll cut off the water and food supply real quick. And I told him, like, because I was emotional, like, honestly, if I was an emotional person, he wouldn't be there, right? Because it's like me and the owner, if I told the owner, hey, it's me or him, he got to go, he would have made that decision for me. But I know he makes the owner money. And that's not reasonable for me, where dude let me train in his gym because I had some situations happen with my studio. So I always think very logical. But it's just like the point of, fam, like, you in here because of me, right? And it's just like, we're making sure you're doing everything right. And for you to have to cut me off in that way just wasn't, to me, doesn't sit right with me, and it's not acceptable. And if I would have did something wrong, I would have owned it. Hey, that's on me. But for that to happen so quick, it's just like, that shit ain't right. And, you know, I already had paid for my flight for Vegas. I had paid for my stuff. So even when I asked him for the money, he was like, well, I ain't got it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I told him, shit, I'll ask Alex and Ariel, because those are your homies, you know, and that was a whole big situation. And then again, so summer shredding, right? You're only, do you even know any of the rules where it's like you're only supposed to win one class or things like that? Like, did you know anything about that?
I didn't know that. No.
So listen, so Alex told us personally, we had a discussion about, can he do classic or should he do classic and men's physique, right? Our goal was to go down there, shake hands, kick ass, bring back 2 G's, because he was going to do classic and he was going to do men's physique. The reason he didn't do men's physique is because Alex told us they're not going to give him 2 trophies. They said they're not going to give him 2 overalls. He said he talked to the judges, they're not going to let him win. But the crazy thing is, some dude won in bodybuilding and classic, right? The same dude won, but he said they will never let it happen for classic and men's physique. But I'm like, so that's another thing where it's like, I want everybody to still get a trophy, right? That's that participation point. So I'm like, hell no, you go win fucking both. What the fuck is the point? This ain't no, and I know it's not a real show, because we won both overalls in a real one, but you're saying because you want to still have it fairly, you can't let him win both. And Alex told us, like, he should only do men's physique because that's better for his marketing and his branding. But I'm like, you're not the same as Alex. You know, he wants to walk in Alex's footsteps. I'm like, y'all got two different lanes. And I'm just like, Dan, you look better than Alex in 2019. And we can go back to the pictures. And I'm just like, you're going to surpass him in a heartbeat. But it's hard when y'all both doing the same shit. I'm like, Dan, I don't want to be you. You don't want to be me. I'll be Phil Jackson. You be Mike. And I'm going to make sure you're the best. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I put you in a position to win. But now with him and Alex, it's just like, well, you know, you're going to be prepped by a person that you're going against, right? So it's just like, that's just going to be a little weird. But yeah, man, that whole thing was like, we actually had like a group meeting, like, fuck it, do both. Like, do classic and do men's physique. What can hurt? They're not going to give you the trophy. I said, for them to ever not look at your physique and look at the motherfucker next to you and give somebody the next thing, we would have sent Alpha League up. Like, everybody would have known who should have won and who didn't. But because of branding, we made it a marketing decision for him just to do men's physique. And crazy thing is, all my people bought tickets for the morning show, right? And Alex was like, I'll personally give you your money back, which is only like $180. Still haven't gotten that shit, you know? And it's different. If you plan on cutting somebody off, pay your debt and move on. But don't sit here me where it's like, I still have flight tickets, and luckily I ended up getting the flight credits back because I paid for my ticket, my girl ticket, and Dan's ticket. But I'm like, well, you got Alex in there. I'm not going to go out there to be a fan and support. Like, he still thought I was going to Vegas. But I'm like, fam, you just cut me off as a coach for the reasons that are unexplainable, right? And, and that's how I knew he didn't get it, because he was still, well, can I still use the flight? Like, are you still talking to me about some shit that you just cut me off? But it don't, and that's how I know he's just never been in this situation. So it's hard to be mad at somebody who just doesn't know because they don't know. And that's the hard part, where it's like, you tell somebody, hey, don't touch the fire. Don't touch the fire. Don't do it. Don't do it. And they still got to do it to learn. And that's the thing I was trying to prevent him from, where it's like, Dan, you got to understand, I've been in this game. I said, Dan, has anybody ever, texted you or DM'd you like, hey, man, watch out for Heck. He's a bad guy. Watch out for Heck. He's like, no. I said, Dan, don't you see everybody I bring around you says the same shit? But it's like, that's just not valued enough compared to what he thinks somebody can do for him, social media wise, online coaching wise. And that's the thing, where it's like, tell me why you couldn't have both. Because you didn't like that I was posting every day. I said, you don't even see Dan on Alex's page. I'm like, there is nothing where if I post Dan, it takes away from what Alex does with Dan. You promote him how you want to promote him. I promote him how I want to promote him. Dan still wins. What's the issue? Right? And that's the sad part about social media, where people, it's like, it's not what it is. It's people what it wants to look like.
Yeah.
You feel me? And that's the marketing part, where it's like, no, again, as I tell you before, we do this in real life. Like, it's more important to have these human connections rather than just these superficial things where people think, hey, this facade is what you're supposed to show. This is who you're supposed to be. No, like, if you see me, I'm very transparent on my page. I post what I want. I'm funny. I'm informative. I help people. It don't matter. And my page, half of the people, it's not me. It's people I helped. And again, it's different when it's like somebody who's helping you is just the person there. They don't really show much to their clients. They only show them. So it's like, man, you want help from somebody, and I get it. You want to be him, but it's just, again, I just think he's destined for bigger and better things, and again, which he's still going to attain. But like you said, this is definitely going to have to be a lesson. But that's why I told him, I said, look, I don't want him at the gym. Honestly, like, I let him there. I mean, not say I let him there, but he's still there. And it's just like, fam, I said, I want you to be great. And then he was like, well, Heck, I work hard. I said, I never said you did it. I just said, you can't build a foundation, or you can't succeed off the foundation I built you when it comes to being in this environment, right? It's like, if you go do that shit and go train somewhere else and see if it's as easy as you thought it was going to be, and you having the purse that you have, then cool, by all means, go ahead. But you can't do that shit off my foundation, of my resources, because I poured into you. You feel me? And it's just for you to cut me off for those invalid reasons that really don't make sense. Is just like, that one stings. That one definitely stings.
Yeah. Well, man, it's it does just getting to go down there to Alpha Land. It does seem like there's kind of this divide between the two worlds. And, that's one thing that I hope to do with this podcast a little bit, just kind of bring all of the kind of divide, or trying to think of really the best word for it. It's kind of this like, grass is greener almost in a lot of ways. Trying to bring that together and just being like, hey, we can all do this. We can all benefit. We can all become better and, get the deals and get the money and get the success. Like, that's one thing that I kind of, in a way, I kind of felt a little bit of that, somewhat of tension a little bit between kind of the two worlds down there a little bit. And like I said, that's something that I really hope to kind of with this podcast, hopefully at least bring it together a little bit.
And I think that if you're able to do that, that's great. But like you said, the people at Gold's Gym in the old Venice Beach, where it's like, they don't do this for cameras. The cameras just happen to be there. Well, now it's a difference where it's like, you have to record every workout. You got to do this. You got to be able to show it. Where it's like, people built them amazing physiques, and that's why we don't see the physiques that we used to see, because everybody's too busy worried about recording it instead of actually developing it, and more busy about selling plans rather than getting your physique there. But it's the case of, if I don't have to work that hard, do I really have to, right? And it's just like, remember, that mentality is just like, life needs to be hard at some times, because if not, you're just going to end up being soft, And that's the thing I was trying to teach Dan, is like, I'm on your ass for a reason. It's to build you stronger, because mentally, like, when I didn't tell Dan I was proud of him and stuff, we had that talk. Like, he broke down and started crying because, his pops had treated him a certain way and didn't talk to him for like a year because of some decision he made. But he felt like me not talking to him for them a couple of hours brought back those same emotions and triggered him. I said, fam, regardless of how I feel or how you feel, we always get the job done. And that's the thing, where it's like, people put too much emphasis on emotion, and understand the logic where, like, you telling me making you feel bad for a couple of hours outweighs everything that I've done to get you to this point. And as you say, that's where the learning curve, the learning happens. But I think it is going to be hard to I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be hard to bridge that gap, because fitness is more funny and entertaining now than it actually is fitness, right? People are more worried about, I hate them ads where it's like, you don't want to be a personal trainer. Let's fuck people's health. You don't want to make $60, $70 in there. You want to make an online business making $10,000. And it takes away the human aspect of what fitness is for, right? Like you said, it's better to help people physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's like we've gone away from what actually fitness and health is, and we brought it to entertainment and this social media industry where people are just trying to get paid from it, and the human interaction isn't as real.
Yeah, 100%. I think it is kind of fading away from more of focus on the people and more of a focus on kind of, what can they do for me instead of what can I do for them kind of aspects.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, it was really good though getting to talk tonight. Can't say that word for some reason. And just kind of hearing your perspective on everything, and just honestly talking to somebody with so much experience in the game, and in the world of fitness, it's really cool to meet you and get to talk to you. I appreciate it.
You too, Dan. Appreciate you for having me.